One of the things that I do to most of my knives, my folders especially, is combine textures with smooth surfaces, or in this case, this Damascus blade with an etched surface to show the Damascus pattern. So what I've got here is the flat ground flipper, rough ground with the first grit, 60 grit belt, and I'm going to lay it out so that I can cut the texturing before I proceed to grind anymore. So I'm going to make a reference mark around here where the front of the handle is, because I want my textures to go back up under the liners. I'm going to take it apart. Over here, note where my ball track is. You can see the track in there. So the idea is to texture back past the front of the liners here, but definitely not go as far back as the ball track because it won't float smoothly. And I'm going to use a diamond burr in my small rotary tool to texture this since the blade's already heat treated. I've textured the ricasso on this flat ground blade, and I've already come back and ground it with a 120. I'm getting ready to grind some more with a 240 grit belt. I like using a magic marker or some other marker to ink things so I can see where I've gone. I use it when I'm grinding instead of Prussian blue or some other Dicom type bluing, because for one thing it's cheaper, and for another thing it dries real quickly, so it just makes it a little easier for me. While I've got them all together, I need to go ahead and shape the tail spacers. They're not going to be flush down with the liners here. They're going to raise out. So let me get my mask on and we'll grind one.
Seems like yesterday, but it was long ago.
I've ground all four of the blades, and I'm going to lay down a preliminary finish. In other words, I'm going to get rid of the tool marks that run this way. Then I'll come back and grind the false edge and other secondary bevels in. Hose it with a little Windex.
What are you using?
I'm using silicon carbide wet dry paper. The grit is a closely guarded secret, and Windex for a lubricant. You can see I still have some to do here, but that's just with the first swipe. And I'm taking it down to a good 400 grit on the belt so that I have less hand sanding to do. It keeps it more precise, I find. All right, at this point, the blades are ground and the blades are completely hand finished. All they lack is my mark and sharpening. And before I go any further on details of the handles, such as finishing out all my pivots, texturing some of the exposed areas of the liners and things like that, you know, finalizing my screws, I want to make sure that everything works right, that nothing has slipped or gone totally haywire. So I've got them together at this point without the clips, but they're all put together. This one centers up nicely. don't have any side wiggle. Take the pressure off of the spring. It floats very freely on the bearings. I can't feel any wiggle. And it flips. Same thing with this little one. You'll notice on this one especially, it's very apparent, is the way that I've tapered the liners, something that I did because I like the way it looks like it just swallows up the blade when the blade is closed. I'm still using liners that are almost 90 thousandths thick, but I thinned them down on the underside more for looks than anything, but I like the way it looks. That works just fine. And this one is will be a thumb opener. That's why I've got the holes here as opposed to a flipper. But it also centers up nicely in there. I don't, of course it's got bushings instead of bearings, so I have to allow a little bit of free play in there, but I don't have any serious wobble. It opens smoothly. It locks just fine. So the test is pretty good so far, so now I'll take them apart and start finishing out the handles, screws, doing the pivots. The pivots will have to be heat treated after they're textured. This is the Damascus Arachnophobia blade. It happens to be Chad Nichols stainless Damascus. You can see that I've painted all the ricasso and pivot area, lock area, with a dark red nail polish. That's just to mask it off. The dark red makes it easy to see where you've got it and where you don't. And so I'm ready to etch the Damascus. I'm going to wipe down the blade, get my fingerprints off, kind of degrease it, just using strong denatured alcohol, rubbing alcohol. Put it on just a steel wire hook. And set it in my ferric chloride. Because it's stainless Damascus, I have to warm this up pretty good, a little over 100 degrees, so that it gets a better etching action.
Against the wind, we were running against the wind. We were young and strong, we were running against the wind.
Okay.
I'm going to pull the blade out and see how it looks. Oh yeah. Just rinse it real quick. Wow. I like that. It's looking real good. I've got 3 different shades, from bright shiny to a dark gray to a near black. Let's see how I can feel some depth. I want to etch it a little bit more. Before I do that, I'll come back with my leather-faced sanding block and some worn-out paper. It's 600 grit. And going back in the juice. In the meantime, I have the edge of all the way around of the Mokutai overlays for that particular Arachnophobia dressed down with a cracked ice, or what I call a cracked ice pattern. There you go. Real nice contrast, very interesting pattern. My videographer, who also teaches piano, may see a staff in there. I like this. Chad, if you're watching this, you done good, son. See if you can see the
Yeah,
radial pattern. Hold on. Shit scratches. You know, it's too damn crowded in this shop. We need a bigger shop. You got me going here? This is where they're supposed to be playing some loud rock and roll music so you can't hear me yelling, screaming, and cussing. There. Starting to see some color coming out. Some pattern. See the color coming out. Starting to get a little comfortable out there in that left hand. Stop the heat. Chad Nichols, you done good. I like that. Got golds, blues, violets, ice blues. All kinds of good color going on in there. And good pattern too. So. Taking one of my screw heads here, which has got a little piece of steel that has a 256 threaded hole in it, in my chuck, my lathe chuck. Button head screws tend to have heads that are about 2 to 4 thousandths bigger in diameter than the standard counterbore, which is a pain. So I gotta cut them down just a little bit. They look much like that when they're done.